All right, my friends, what is going on? It is Dave Sharpe. Welcome to Wake Up Legendary. We are here as we are every single weekday from 10 a.m. to usually 11 a.m., not 11 p.m. It's not a 13-hour show, just usually about an hour. And here's the deal. Here's what's different and unique about this is that we're actually interviewing our own clients and students who have taken our education. Go figure, right? It's not a guru interviewing another guru. It's not it's not a scripted show. As a matter of fact, our guest today here, Shay, is, as you can see from the title, a burnt out coach or former burnt out coach who's going to talk to us about how building connections has been the secret to her success. But I've never talked to Shay before. I've never had any sort of communication or conversation with her. We're going to be talking to her and listening to her for the very first time right here today together. And that's the real power of this show. The power of this show is the transparency. The power of the show is the realness. The power of the show is the fact that we're talking to real clients and students. So with that being said, let's get this show started. Shay, welcome to the show.
Hi, Dave. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here.
It's an honor to have you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. So tell us where you're calling in from. And I did find out this behind the digital virtual stage here before we got started and what time it is there.
Okay, so I am currently located on a little island called Koh Phangan off of the coast of Thailand, and currently it is 9 p.m. So we are half a world away.
Unbelievable. I can remember when I
Mm.
went to Singapore, and yeah, I was literally a day ahead. I think you're a day ahead of us over here in the United States.
Yeah.
The clock has gone forward, so you're actually in the future, my friend. You're in the future.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, exactly.
So it's great to have you here. We're looking forward to hearing your story. So let's get this party started. How did
Mhm.
you find us? What were you looking for? What do you think? Were you looking for something? And do you believe that up until this point you have found what you were looking for?
Yeah. So I didn't know what I was looking for. Like you said in the introduction, I was this burnt out coach, and I actually thought I had found my dream job when I came into coaching. I'm like, all right, this is something that I'm doing online. I can take my work anywhere, and it'll be easy, and I can just sip cocktails on the beach and call that a career.
Mm,
And I didn't realize how much work went into it. I had to do everything from the marketing, from to the graphics, to the tech work, to enrolling, then recording the modules and the launching, like all the things.
yeah.
And I realized that instead of working 40 hours a week, I was working like 80 hours a week just to
Mhm.
try to get my business off the ground. And then from there on, like try to sustain it. And I just got so tired and I didn't have the energy to keep launching over and over again and creating new programs. And it was June of this year, I crashed in every way that you could crash. And
Mm.
I got super, super sick. And I was sick like with four different things back to back. And I couldn't continue. And I felt like my body was telling me that I was so out of alignment and there was just no more left of me to give into my business. And because it was draining all of my energy, there was also no more energy left for life and for my daughter and for anything that was like in any fun at all.
Mm.
So yeah, I decided to just close everything down, and I didn't have anything lined up really. It was just I knew I needed to close this business and try to get my health back and try to get my life back. That was like my only goal at the time.
Mm.
And I remember in bed, I was scrolling, it was either TikTok or Instagram, and I saw this girl and she was talking about how she does digital marketing and affiliate marketing. I'm like, okay, let me check this out. And I remember binging her page for like an hour, looking at all of her content. And by the end of it, I winded up getting her ebook, and then I rolled into the challenge, and then I also got the blueprints, and it was just I haven't looked back since, and it's been amazing. And I didn't know that this was the exact thing that I was looking for, because most of my life I've been like somewhat allergic to the corporate world. I've
Yeah.
never wanted to work the 9 to 5, and I've always done like all of these odd jobs that I found on Craigslist or network marketing. I worked at clubs and stuff, and I think like the main thing that I really wanted was to make the most amount of money working as little as possible, to be honest. And how do I also make money being myself? That was like another factor that I wanted to nail in like whatever venture I pursued. And I feel like this is absolutely it for me. So I hope
Wow.
that's your question.
Yeah, so much so and more. And I love that you just said the truth, your truth, which is I wanted to make the most amount of money with the least amount of work. And who doesn't? Who
Yeah.
doesn't want to? I mean, why do we lie? We often lie to ourselves first and foremost, and those sort of lies where we overcomplicate our truth lead us to overcomplicating our lives. And so,
Mhm.
by overcomplicating our truth, we then pursue these complicated, convoluted paths that often take us in a direction that we don't end up feeling fulfilled because we weren't being honest with ourselves in the first place. And I think when we are honest, not only is it freeing, but it's also relatable to other people. It's like, yeah, I now that you say it, I think I like that's how I feel too. And I just wonder in the comments, does anybody else feel like that? Does anybody else um, able or willing to and share your truth, whatever your truth is? I would certainly love to hear that, to read that. Deborah, of course, says she's also allergic to the corporate world.
Yeah.
So there is some relation, but yeah. Okay, let's see. It's a lost value, honesty. Yeah. Heck yes. Kaylin says relatable. Michaela says, "Oh my God, yes." Melissa, 100%. That's profound. Steven says. Randy says totally. Tammy says 100%. Randy says agree. Kelly, yeah. I mean, thank you for share. Oh my gosh, the comments. I'm not going to be able to put them all up on the screen because there's so many of them who are in agreement with that. That doesn't mean that we want to do, holy crap, I can't, they're coming in faster than I can. So that doesn't mean that you want to do something illegal. It doesn't mean that you want to do something that isn't of integrity. It doesn't mean that don't want to do something that doesn't deliver value, but you also don't want to do something that forces you to sacrifice your life in your health, right, Shay? Which is what
Mhm.
I hear you saying. And so, as you were beginning to, binge and go through our challenge, and then make the decision to buy our blueprints and really kind of throw yourself into this world of digital marketing and really starting with affiliate marketing, because also what I heard you say was you were doing some coaching and so forth, and it was becoming too much. Maybe doing coaching one on one was something that you were doing as well, which is not how
Mhm.
we teach how to do coaching here at Legendary. If anybody has gone through the coaching and consulting blueprint, it's all about group coaching and the power of one to many versus one on one, and how much more powerful that can be, unless you're working with trauma situations or
Mhm.
clients that require confidentiality and privacy. the majority of coaching, whether it be dog training, whether it be baby training, whether it be business training, don't require that level of confidentiality. As a matter of fact, the client usually benefits from group involvement. So I hear that you're also looking to reset and maybe start with affiliate marketing, selling other people's products first, focusing only on the marketing, and let somebody else for now handle all of the back end work. What other light bulbs went off for you as you were beginning to go through our education? What were some of the aha moments that you had, and what is still the thing that you see in this business and these business models that we teach here that make the most sense to you?
Yeah. So as I was working through all of the lessons and implementing everything, I realized how much money I missed out on years ago when I first started coaching. So, my original coaching business was helping women with their sensuality and doing a lot of sexual healing. And I was sharing a lot of like the tools. I was sharing about yoni eggs and wands, and everybody was asking me where I bought mine. Everyone. It was like all over my DMs. And I kept sharing this one particular company that I really, really loved. And I noticed everyone started buying from this company and tagging me. And I
Mm,
was like, I should get a commission for this. And then it never really clicked in my head until the owner of that company, she reached out and she's like, hey, do you want to be a guest speaker in one of my membership programs? I was like, okay, yeah, awesome. And then she told me she had an affiliate program. I was like, all right, I'm in. I'm totally in. So I think my first month, I wasn't even like actively promoting, and I was just doing what I usually do, nothing extra. I made $1,000 extra, like just from my
mm,
my usual daily thing. And
yeah.
then when I was working through the lessons, like I said, I was like, wow, I really missed out on a lot of money. Had I had this funnel in, had I had like all the automations and like everything working for me, I could have made so much more.
Mm.
Um, so yeah.
I love that. And that's such a great example of how all of us every day are sharing things with people
Hmm.
just because that's human nature. It's actually human nature to share things that you have a good experience with other people, but we never get paid for that, right?
Yeah.
We never get paid for that. And you see people even on the internet, they just say, "Hey, I want to post videos." And, I can't imagine how many people have started YouTube channels or started social media profiles and just started making posts or creating videos that people enjoyed and got value from, and people actually began to look up to that person, and that person, just like you, started making recommendations or sharing things that were really helpful to them, and never making a single dime from it.
Hmm.
Never making a single
Yeah.
dime.
Yeah,
But building
exactly.
somebody else, but sending people to corporations and sending people to companies and sending people to Amazon and sending people to all these different places. And I think that the other kind of cool thing is, which we've had quite a few clients do, is actually approach companies or individuals who have products and services that they like and say, "Hey, I'd like to send you clients.
Hmm.
Can you create an affiliate program for me?" And that doesn't even have to mean that the company implements this big tracking system. Maybe it just means that they pay you a referral affiliate commission for every client that you send. In the majority of the time, we don't get what we want because we don't ask for it and we don't propose a deal. A lot of times we'll go to companies and we'll say, "Hey, can I get, I'd like to get paid for this." And they're like, "Okay, what do you mean?" Like, they're not going to create the opportunity for us. But now that we have the knowledge, after going through this education and really understanding what even affiliate marketing means, we can go to companies, corporations, individuals and say, "Hey, I'd like to send you clients and I'd like to get a 40% commission for that. You keep 60, I'd like to keep 40." It's essentially like I'm your marketing department or division or an arm of it. Are you okay with that? And then maybe they say, well, oh, let me look at the numbers. I can do 30%. How about 35, right? And a business negotiation can begin to happen. But
Mhm.
if you would not have approached that person, maybe you would have eventually got tired of sending clients because you realize you're just doing the work for free. And then nobody wins. The client doesn't win, the other business doesn't win, and you don't win. And this simple knowledge allows us to create a win-win for now all three parties involved, us, them, and the client. And so
Mhm.
as you are now starting, and remind everybody when you kind of discovered us and started going through the challenge, like how, give us an idea of the timeline here.
Um, it was at the very tail end of June. That's when I
Oh,
started.
fresh,
Yeah. Yeah.
fresh.
Pretty fresh.
June, July, August. So, I mean, we're talking about 3 months here.
Mhm.
You are a fetus. You are a newborn.
Yeah.
I was saying that to somebody yesterday who was on the show. I mean, I was like, wow, your journey is like, if you look at your entire timeline, you're where you are is a freckle on the pimple of a gnat's ass. You haven't even started yet. You know, you're so
Yeah.
your journey is so small. So, I mean, do you feel like you have more than just dopamine flowing through your brain because you're doing something new? Do you really see now a true career path? Do you feel like you now have the tools and the frameworks and the strategies to build a real business for yourself?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's like the thing I love about this business model is that it can be applied to anything. Anything that I would want to market. And so, if I do change my mind and I want to promote something else, the business model applies. So like it's going to be able to evolve with me, which is
Mm.
something I really loved.
I think so many people come into our whatever community, our ecosystem, our platform, and they see so many people out there on the internet who are excited about Legendary because they've had such a positive experience here with Legendary.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
they think, oh, well, yeah, I can, yeah, I'd love to promote Legendary's courses and education as well. Is that what I'm learning how to do here, is to promote Legendary's? And the beautiful thing is that our affiliates who promote our courses and our programs use the same exact strategies as they would if they were promoting a dog training or a, as you said, some sort of a relationship, personal development,
Mhm.
sexual health, whatever it is, sort of education or program. The whole big idea of what we teach here is that it's more powerful to promote digital products than it is physical products. And
Yeah.
that there's four ways to sell information, which are really digital products. That's courses, coaching, events, or doing affiliate marketing, selling somebody else's education or digital products. And, a lot of people went through the pandemic and had a big awakening after they realized that, wow, gee whiz, I might be locked at home and not have a way to make money, from home and be relying on the government or whatever. Take us back and just help us understand what you took away from the pandemic and why you feel it's essential for you to continue to
Ooh,
build digital marketing skills so you have
yeah.
a backup plan, so you have savings, so you have a way to make money if we're ever all told to go inside and lock our doors and don't come outside.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so this takes me back to like a very, very transformative moment in my life. And when the pandemic hit, like something in my heart was like panicking because it had always been my dream to travel the world with my kids, and just live the life of like complete freedom and like hopping on planes, going to different countries. And once I heard that like the borders were shutting down, I completely panicked. I'm like, my dream is gone. It is crushed. And there was a while there where I felt like I had a little bit of a window and the borders were opening back up, but like nobody was really sure whether it's going to stay open or if they were going to close. Nobody knew. And I took that opportunity, and against all logic, I just booked a one-way ticket with my daughter and left. And I was not financially prepared. I was not anything prepared really, because my coaching business wasn't exactly stable at the time. I had a custody order in place. I didn't have any savings. All I knew is that like I have a dream, and if I don't take this window of opportunity and get out of the country, I might not have it again. Obviously we're able to travel now, but at the time I didn't know that.
Mm.
And so I took the leap. It was like a last minute sort of decision. And we left and went to Mexico. And then I went from Mexico to Thailand to Taiwan, and then came back to Thailand. And this whole time I'm realizing how important it is, not just for me, but for everyone really, because we're entering this digital era, to take our work online and experience this kind of freedom, because there's so many jobs that are being lost now. How many people lost their jobs in the pandemic? How many people got laid off? There's so many, so many. So that's the risky thing. This is not, because of the age we are moving into.
I had to let that energy there. Got me all fired up over here. It's true. I mean, my Lord, are we confused about what is safe and what is secure? We are really
Mhm.
truly we are really led astray, I would say, by society. And I've talked about this quite a bit over the last couple of days on this show, is how we've all sort of been groomed to, be good little boys and good little girls and go to get our good little grades and go to college and get our good little
Mhm.
jobs and, report to work on time, be on time, sit in traffic, all the things, wait for that paycheck, direct deposit, we ask all the wrong questions. First of all, going and getting the job, but then when we're getting the job, we're so desperate and we're like, do you do direct deposit? Do you have a 401k? Like, do you guys provide insurance? Like, I don't know how many people
Yeah.
work. I don't know how many people work jobs they absolutely hate just so they can keep their insurance. Come on, let's get honest in the
Mhm.
comments. Let's get honest in the comments. You know what I mean? How many of you are working jobs that you absolutely despise because you don't want to lose your insurance, right? That is a way that society has groomed us to be modern day slaves, with all due respect to people who were actually slaves. And I want to say that. I'm not trying to be insensitive. I'm not trying to be an insensitive white man here just throwing around terminology. But I believe what I'm saying. I believe that society has, and corporations and government has groomed us to really be confused about what is safe. As you said, you made the point. You got me thinking about it now. And I just want to remind everybody that, you know, you can get insurance on your own. You can get insurance on your own. You don't have to only it is not only jobs and corporations that provide insurance. You can actually go to a company. You can actually go to an insurance company and
Mhm.
buy insurance. You can buy insurance. And also, you can go to different countries and get different work done. I have somebody, as a matter of fact, somebody right that works as a business plan advisor inside of Legendary. It was talking just on a call last week about going to a different country to get dental work done. I mean,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
like, like for a lot of us Americans, we are really brainwashed about the cost of things, and they are so expensive because it's just a big dirty game. It's a big dirty scheme to keep us locked into these jobs that we hate, slaving away for wages that do not pay the bills. You damn near
Yeah.
need a side hustle in today's economy to survive, especially if you have kids. And because medicine and prescription cost and procedure cost are so high, well, we have to stay in that job because we need that insurance, right?
Mhm.
No, we
Yeah.
can't get insurance other places. There are other solutions to be able to get to take care of ourselves. And absolutely, we need to have a plan. We shouldn't just quit our job tomorrow in a, I mean, unless there's a pandemic or zombies are coming. And this pandemic did make it kind of feel like zombies were coming. I mean, it really
Mhm.
did. Like it was kind of like gave us all a little bit of a taste of what it would be like if everything no longer mattered, like your
Yeah.
job and what insurance you had. Remember during the pandemic, I feel I have a deep sadness for anybody who needed to go get a procedure, who needed to go get actual medical, because the only thing that matters was, do you have COVID or not? And it was
Mhm.
like, damn, I'm having a heart attack. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or, my teeth are rotting or whatever it is. And so that thinking outside of the box that you were talking about, leaving the country, traveling, starting to check off your bucket list now, starting to think of alternative ways to ensure and take care of yourself medically and mentally. A lot of times
Mhm.
we're
Yeah.
working away to keep that insurance and that job in case we have a heart attack. Okay, that job might give you a damn heart attack. And what about your mental health? What sort of a load is that? What sort of damage is that job that you're stressing out? And you know what? I saw somebody else say, maybe it was Phil Koberger, said on a post that the only person that is going to remember that you were never there because you were always working is your kids.
Mhm.
That's what's going to matter in 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 years. If we ask ourselves, does the decision that we're making right now, is it going to matter in 5 years? And so talk to us about, you getting started and what have been you're obviously somebody who mindset and, you're aware of yourself. You're aware of probably your limiting beliefs, and your coaching practice was helping people, it sounds like, overcome some of their own hang-ups and traumas and so forth. And so talk to us about your limiting beliefs. What were some of the things that you needed to overcome as you were beginning this, and in some ways being new at something again, even coming from being a coach and somebody who helped other people? How was that experience for you? Was it humbling? What was some of the negative self-talk inside of your own head that you needed to overcome? And
Yeah.
what are you telling yourself in replacement of that?
Mhm. Yeah. So, I do wanna touch on real quick for the people who are, like, worried about, like, insurance and, not being able to travel and stuff. I just wanna say that, like, if you go to a country like Bali, you go to a country like Thailand, my insurance with full coverage for me and my daughter was $1,800 for the year. My house is $470. I have a house, and I can walk to the beach, and that's like a morning meditative practice that I do every day. And so I just want people who are out there thinking like, oh, I can't leave my job. I don't have the insurance, I can't afford to travel. It is so much affordable in other countries than it was in the US for me.
Mm.
And so like, we see all these people all the time on Instagram who are traveling the world, and they're either like a solo traveler or they're traveling with their partner. And what I love that I'm doing that's different is that I'm traveling as a single mom. I have not really seen that shared out there, and I want to like give that permission slip to other single parents out there who feel like they can't because they're a single parent. You can also do it.
Backboard on that one, girlfriend. You're
Yeah.
on fire. You're on fire. I love that. We could talk about that all day long. A lot of times we don't realize, and I recognize that I ask you about the limiting beliefs and stuff, but
Hmm.
we'll get to that. I just want to add, because you added, now I'm adding, is that a lot of times we only understand our own context, the context of our own experience. You don't know what you don't know. So it's like, if you've never been outside of your city, if you've never been outside of your state, if you've never been outside of your country, we only know what we know.
Mhm.
And there's a lot to offer, a lot of opportunity in this world. Not only does this opportunity give us something different in terms of work and ways to earn income, but what you just laid out was complete, like, and that should be mind shifting, discombobulating mentally for people. And it seems like it is in the comments that, wow, I could actually get a year's worth of insurance in a different country for 1800. Now, if you were ever going to do that, it would be a good idea. Let's just be reasonable. Let's be rational. Even though you kind of jetted out of the country right before the pandemic, it'd be reasonable for you to do your due diligence and your research and plan for it and all that. But isn't that a more interesting life for some of you to look into things like that instead of stressing over the dinner table about what, your life as it is, right? About things you can't. So many of us sit in front of the TV watching politics, stressing over things we can't control. Wouldn't it be so? Isn't it so much more empowering? And wouldn't it be for you to sit over the dinner table with yourself alone as a single mom or dad, as you just said, or with your spouse and talk about things that you can control? I've always said this and believe this, that we must create our own economy. And what you did there was just give an example of that. We can create our own economy. And if you don't like how the game is played in one sandbox, pick your toys up and go somewhere else. Go to another sandbox,
Yeah.
right? It's not like you have to keep sitting in that sandbox playing with those people. And I think that applies to jobs. That applies to cities, counties, states, countries. I mean, you're giving us a perspective, you're right, this morning that we haven't had before. And I also love how you're giving single moms, single dads the permission slip. If you are a single mom or dad, and especially if the partner is not participating in the kid's life, or if in some way, shape, or form is not healthy for the kids to, why not? I mean, sometimes setting boundaries in our life with the people that we need to set boundaries with is the ticket to freedom that we need. A lot of times, some of the most damaging behavior is to become a single parent or person and then not set adequate boundaries with the people that you were formerly in relationships with. I was talking about this with somebody recently who had a partner that was abusive and that was that just she needed to set boundaries with this person. And it was clearly the thing that was holding her back in life, was that she hadn't given herself permission to move on and to begin living her life. In so many days, I see comments in here from single moms, from single dads. And my question to you today, as we're having this powerful conversation with you, Shay, is what boundaries do you need to set with people to set yourself free so you can live the life that you deserve? And as you said, Shay, what permission do you need to give yourself? Because nobody else is going to give it to you. As a matter of fact, other people are going to try to hold you down because they would like to control you, even if they're not still in relationships with you, right? So we need to, especially if you are single, especially if you are a single mom or a single dad, it is your job to do what is best for you and your kids, despite everybody else. Everybody else can adjust, right? And what permission do you need to give yourself to begin living the life that you want, that you deserve? And quite frankly, a lot of times we can do this while we're still in relationships. I mean, I have an older friend, and she is married to a man who travels a lot, and they don't particularly like the same things. And so she likes to camp and adventure and hang out with girlfriends. So she bought herself a camper, a little tiny camper that she hauls behind her little SUV and just goes off on adventures. And I know so many people in relationships that don't do that just because the partner isn't into that. And so we sort of mold our lives into what, it's this people pleasing and codependency to an extreme. And we all have it. We all have it. Don't, because there's nobody who's got it perfect, but our codependency and our people pleasing can keep us stuck and create a lot of regret in our lives down the road when we look back and say, why didn't I give myself permission to break free? Why didn't I follow my dreams? Why didn't, when I left that relationship, set boundaries and actually move on? Anything else that you want to add, or transition right into the limiting beliefs around getting started here, or any other limiting beliefs that you were dealing with as you're new in this process?
I think the thing around boundaries, the greatest lesson that I learned was setting boundaries not with other people, but with myself.
Mm,
How am I going to treat myself? What boundaries am I not allowed to cross? What standards am I going to hold myself to? So I make a lot of lists, and I do this manifestation thing where like I'm writing down like my higher self or my future self who already has all the successes that I want, and I'm jotting down like how she speaks to other people, how other people treat her, her demeanor, what she dresses like, the places that she goes, and anything that does not meet that criteria that goes outside of those boundaries, I am cutting out. I'm cutting out the fat so I stay focused and in my lane.
mm,
And as far as limiting beliefs, um, as you guys already heard the story, like I said, fuck it, and I booked a ticket and left. For me, there's this thing with people who need to be ready to be ready to be ready to be ready. And that point might never come. And so, in my own personal experience, what works for me, and also when I was coaching clients, what has worked for them as well, is jump first, then regulate later. Because if you like, whether you do it now or you do it later, the fear is going to be there anyway. So, you're going to have to regulate that fear anyway. So, might
mm,
as well take the jump, take the leap, and then see what happens. At
mm.
least you're moving forward.
That's a 10. That's 10 hats right there. That's 10. I mean, because wow, 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 wow. I mean, you're throwing out terminology some people may not be familiar with, but we're going to get you familiar with it. Regulating your emotions, coping mechanisms. How do you deal with fear? How do you deal with anxiety? How do you deal with new emotions in new situations? Or how are you dealing with the same old emotions that you're always having, but you're not finding any new coping mechanisms to deal with those emotions? And therefore, that anxiety is turning into depression, or it's turning into extra weight on your body, right? Because you're eating it, or it's turning into other self destructive behaviors like drinking or drugging, because again, you're not processing it, you're not coping with it, you're not finding ways to regulate. The greatest example that I can think of with regulating emotions is watching young kids. And of course, I've got 3 kids, so I've had the pleasure of watching my children regulate their emotions and learn how to regulate their emotions. And it's quite an amazing thing. It really shows me and reminds me that, you know, I have the power to be able to regulate and cope with any emotion that I have with nothing. I don't need. I mean, I just with the basic comforts. Let me just say it like that. Like it's very difficult if you look at Maslow's hierarchy to. In it, I mention that because it makes a lot of sense. It's simple to understand that until you meet your basic needs of food, water, shelter, safety, it's difficult for you to move into thinking about meeting your emotional needs, or your societal or relationship needs. Right? You're not worried about a relationship really if you don't have a house, right? Or if you don't have any food or water. But once you meet that need of those basic food, water, shelter, safety, and if as long as you have that, you have the power to be able to regulate your emotions. How do I know this? Because I've seen babies and toddlers do it. And the reason why it's difficult for or adults to do it is it's not really that it's difficult. We all regulate our emotions. We all cope with our emotions. It's just the coping mechanisms that we use are destructive. That's
Mm-hmm.
all it is. Everybody copes with their emotions. It's just how do you cope with them, right? How do you regulate them? And so starting a business, as you just laid out, the quickest way to fail is to sit there in the anxiety of getting ready to get ready, and what's it going to be like, and is this perfect yet, should I post it, do I look stupid, like all the anxiety that we have before we hit post or before we get started. You're right, you're going to have that anxiety after you get started too. So it's just a
Mhm.
matter of, do you want to go ahead and deal with that anxiety as you're being productive and making progress, or do you want to sit in that anxiety and those debilitating, destructive emotions before getting started? And then on top of that, you're dealing with additional guilt of not getting started. And
Yep.
that is what leads us to the destructive coping mechanisms of dealing with guilt and shame, which usually is drugs, alcohol, food, specifically sugary, carby, foods, comfort foods, sodas. Sometimes for men, it can be porn, masturbation, sex, right? I'm
Mhm.
sitting at my computer and trying to work. Oh, screw it. Let me space out and throw the porn on. And right.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
it can also be additional shopping for both men and women, right? I'm starting this thing. It's hard. I'm anxious, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to go buy something else. I'm going to go start and enroll in something else because I start over the kind of the safe process of just being a learner, just being a student instead of being an action taker. Say
Yeah.
more about that. So as you approach things with this philosophy of sort of, act first or shoot first, ask for permission later, and regulate emotions later, how has
Mhm.
that helped you get started in this? And what additional coaching have you needed, or guidance, or additional regulation, whatever, have you needed to give yourself through this process? And I'm talking about current. And how do you regulate those anxious, whatever other emotions come up for you that could easily become something that you deal with destructive coping mechanism? Like how do you regulate?
Yeah. So I also have a history in drug addiction. And so with that, I've had to learn how to be addicted to healthier things. And when those times come up where I'm like, I'm scared to do something, I know that once I take the action, it's going to calm me down. And if the anxiety continues, there's healthy ways to deal with that. Like I said, I'm like a walk down the beach. I'm right there. So that's something that really fills me up, and it's good for my body. I get some sun on my skin. I meditate, I journal. Like you need to know and have like a toolbox for knowing how to calm your system down, to know yourself, and to know that a lot of the self-talk that you're having probably isn't you. It's probably a parent. It's probably like a teacher that was a dick to you one time, and it's they're telling you in your head that you can't do this, you're not good enough, that you're not going to make it. And I still have a lot of this self-talk. And like, to be honest, like when I first saw my big commission come in, like I remember opening the email and I knew it said $1,000, but like my mind read it as one. For some reason, my mind read it as one. I was like, okay, that was $1. And then I went back to sleep and I looked at it again. I was like, wait, no, that's not a one. That's 1,000. But like there was something in me that made me like it made my eyes force myself to see that number as a one, because there could be no way, there's no way I just made $1,000. And then I also had something similar come up when I was invited to do this interview with you. Initially I was like, there's no way he wants to talk to me. Like, no way, like someone like me, no, he wants to talk to me. So there was like this like inner self-talk that like I wasn't good enough to have a conversation with someone like you. I wasn't good enough to be here.
Mm.
And
Oh,
it really is learning, like, where did I learn this from?
Mm,
Because no child has this self-talk by themselves
mm,
without being taught that. So there was a lot of work that went into, locating these voices in my head. Like, who once upon a time told me I wasn't good enough? Who once upon a time told me that I would never make it, that I was irresponsible, that I wasn't pretty enough, smart enough, whatever it was? And to work through these things
yeah.
so that when the time does happen, when you're face to face up against an obstacle, you know what's you and you know what's someone else, and you
Mm.
start listening to you.
Mm. That's 50 digital hat throws right here. I can't. I'm weak. I'm weak. I can't even throw the hat. I mean, what's interesting is that while you're sitting there wondering if you're good enough to talk to me, I can be sometimes wondering if I'm good enough to talk to all of you. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, that's how deep this shit is. And you're right, how powerful wherever these voices came inside of ourselves. And sometimes it's not just one person, it's just like mistakes that we feel we've made. And if we have a sort of path of like thinking or a default method of thinking, we can just pile into that. It's sort of like in scientifically in terms of our brain. um, we make these little neural pathways in our brain, which are sort of default um, behaviors or thought process that in most situations, here's kind of what we default to. And a lot of times those neural pathways are paved early in life. Maybe it's just from one little situation. Maybe it was from one person. But then
Mhm.
other things can pile on. And if you think about it's like a train that just runs the same track. Like maybe somebody one time told you you weren't good enough, or mother or
Mhm.
father said, you'll never be shit when you grow up, or you're a loser just like your father, or whatever. And that just became a little track. And now every single time something bad happens, you pile into that cart and just run that same track. And you're right, we may have forgot who even said it, or we may have I mean, it might have even seemed or been insignificant at the time, like, but it just somehow for some way created a pathway in our minds and became the default way that we think about things. And so no matter what happens in life, we filter it through that way of thinking. Like, yep,
Mhm.
I knew I was going to be a loser. I knew I couldn't do this because I'm a loser, just like my father, whatever it is, right? Um, and so it does take quite a bit of work to be able to reverse that. The good news is that those neural pathways, and I'm not a brain scientist, but I've talked to enough of them and studied this. And everybody should fact check what I'm saying, anyways. It's fine. Do your own research. Understand it in a way that it makes sense to you. But I'll give you my cliff notes. Is that the good news is that those neural pathways can be rewired. It for a long time they did lobotomies and all kinds of other shit, crazy shit,
Mhm.
because they thought that just we were stuck the way that we are, that there was no hope. The good news is 10, 15, 20 years, something like that. It's probably more towards 20-ish. The whole world of psychology shifted because they realized, God bless, you know, rehabilitation works, right? We actually can change. Our neural pathways can be rewired. Our
Mhm.
brains can be rewired. Yes, Kenzie says neuroplasticity. That's right. Our brains are made of neuroplasticity.
Yeah.
Um, and so the question is, how do you rewire your brain? Well, I've got a very simple solution for you, my friends, and I've said it on the show hundreds of times. Maybe you'll hear it differently today. We do not rewire our brains thinking ourselves into a new way of acting. We must act ourselves into a new way of thinking. Let me say that again. Where did I really learn this? Was when I was getting clean from heroin. Yep. Some hard ass shit to come off of. And being an addict is a difficult thing to overcome. And It does not work to sit in your house or on your couch or under a bridge and say, I'm not a junkie anymore. I'm not a junkie anymore. I'm not a junkie anymore. It doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
What works is getting clean, going to detox, going to meetings, making phone calls, and relying on going and doing service, going and telling your story in treatment centers where you're acting and talking and your brain will follow. Your brain is such a complex thing. It's the software that got you into this problem, right? Your best thinking, and that's what they used to tell me, Dave, your best thinking got you exactly in the situation that you're in right now. So how in God's name do you think that same software is going to get you out of this situation?
Mm-hmm.
It needs to be rewired. You need to fully download and then upload completely new software. And so that's how I've put together 15 years clean off of opiates and sober. That's how I have become a productive, responsible member of society, is because I acted my way into a new way of thinking. And the same thing applies here in business. You can become the most powerful version of yourself. You can become confident. You can get good on video, but you're not going to get good on video by saying, I'm good on video. I'm good on, or even, right? Like even thinking it, like I'm going to meditate. The reason why meditation doesn't work for so many people, because you're sitting there doing nothing, working against software that is already programmed to go crazy. The best way to start with meditation for most of you is to do a moving meditation, walking, moving, where you're not just sitting inside of your head, but you're actually moving your body. And guess what? As you're moving your body and as you leave your phone at home, you mentioned beach walks,
Mm-hmm.
you will begin to learn how to quiet your mind. And then you can maybe take the step to meditate where you're sitting in a seat without moving. But it can be very difficult. And so this conversation of rewiring your brain and acting yourself into a new way of thinking that you bring up really gets me fired up, really gets me kind of going down this path of the dynamics, not the mechanics of being an entrepreneur. So say more about your thought process and your approach to even getting on video. I would assume that being on video was something that was maybe new for you, putting yourself out there. You said being invited to the show. We're live right now. I'm sure you had anxiety. If you had limiting beliefs coming into this, which I so thank you for sharing, because that gives me an opportunity to share vulnerably with you too. I love that. Talk to us about your journey of hitting post, of putting yourself out there, of becoming public, of creating content and being a marketer. What sort of limiting beliefs have you overcome in that respect? How does that feel now? How are you regulating those anxious feelings that may come up when you hit post and it's like, oh shit, that's out there now? And you sit to see what happens.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah, that was definitely such a thing, because throughout my coaching career, I think I changed my niche like 5 or 6 times. And so it was in my mind that, like, oh my gosh, my audience is going to go through this whole transition again. They're going to think I'm constantly changing my mind. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm on this route and that route. And when I finally like closed my coaching business and discovered digital marketing, and I wanted to come back online and start sharing, like, hey, I found this new thing, like all the other new things that I found before, and hopefully you guys will stay with me. I released the shame around that. So this was a trick that one of my mentors taught me a long time ago. Anything you feel like you're hiding, that you're embarrassed about, that you're scared about, it's sucking away at your energy. But once you share it, it neutralizes that energy, and it makes it not so difficult anymore. So I shared about that publicly, about how, I'm scared that my community is not going to stay with me, because I have changed my niche a bunch of times, and then I closed my business, and now I discovered digital marketing. And though I love it, I do feel this anxiousness and nervousness that I'm going to lose a lot of followers. I'm going to lose my community. You guys won't love me anymore. And having that put out there, I had so many people reaching out to me like, it's all good. Like, we feel the same way. We've done the same thing. I've had that same, experience. And just knowing that I wasn't the only one feeling that kind of thing, it helped me move through it and then continue to post and like just go over that hurdle of starting something new again.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I love
yeah,
that.
putting it out there.
There was a study that was done. I can't cite the study, but it was a study that was done on sharing your story, and it was done with veterans who were dealing with PTSD from combat or various situations that were traumatic. And there were so many things that didn't work until they finally asked them to start coming and sharing their story and kind of talking about their experience as much as they were able to. And they reported that that was the most helpful thing. That was the most healing thing for them.
Hmm.
And I've experienced the same thing with all of my different struggles throughout my life. I tend to talk about everything. I tend to take now in my life the time that I need to be able to process things personally before I can turn a mess into a message. And I've learned what to share and what not to share, what's appropriate to share, what's not appropriate to share, what things are going to traumatize me or re-traumatize me if I talk about
Hmm.
them too early, right? Sometimes when you're going through something, it's good to sort of let that marinate and sort of process that separately with safe people before you begin to share that publicly if you're not okay with it. If you are not clear about how to turn that mess into a powerful message. However, everything is fair game for me. I mean, everything in my life, including a lot of my deep, dark family trauma from generations past, I have in some way, shape, or form shared in some way through my content over the years. For example, interviewing my dad, I can remember I interviewed my dad a couple of years ago, and just we talked about some of the really traumatic things that he dealt with and that we have inside of our family history. And it was just therapeutic to not have those secrets holding me hostage anymore. And
Hmm.
also very therapeutic for, in the beginning, for example, of my journey here online, I thought, shit, I'm a wretched old man, right? I mean, this at this time I was a younger man, but I'm a wretched young man here. I'm a convict. I had been arrested a couple of times due to my addiction. I had just recently gotten clean. I was still living on my dad's couch, basically. I was working construction. I mean, I had no business credentials. I had no education, and here I am starting to market online. And I'm like, oh shit, like I hope that nobody like finds out who I really am. You talk about imposter syndrome. Holy shit. And
Yeah.
so what I did was I just, in a sort of like, just kind of probably in a way that I might not do it the same way today, but who knows, maybe I would. Sometimes the best way is to just put it out there. And as you said, learn as you go, regulate as you go. That's exactly what I did. I just started sharing exactly who I was, my story, and figuring out ways to turn my struggles into my strengths. It was all just about communicating. It's all just messaging and marketing. The way that you present something, you have a choice. Do I present this like I'm an asshole and a piece of shit, or do I present this in a way that's empowering and find the lessons and the silver linings in it? I mean, every
Hmm.
great movie is somebody's heroic journey to where they started off on the bottom and became ultimately successful because they overcame some challenges, their own personal life challenges. And do you know, and would you know, that the moment that I started sharing the fact that, oh, I'm a recovering addict, I was homeless not too long ago, I'm doing this because I want to get out of construction. Do you know that I became magnetic? People just, not only
Hmm.
did I feel better, not only was there an element of a therapeutic value for me in doing that, but it also and the reason why was because it completely stripped anybody's powers away of finding anything out about me. I just
Yes.
presented the world all my shit. Like, here, I'm good with it. If you're not good with it, that's your problem. but this is my life. Yeah, I have skeletons just like you do, just like we all do. And
Mhm.
this is my shit, and I'm okay with it. There was a massive therapeutic value because now suddenly nobody could use it against me. Nobody could find out. Nobody could find me out. And I controlled the narrative. It's better for you to control the narrative than somebody else to control the narrative. That's another deep level, high level marketing strategy. If you
Mhm.
have something that you're afraid of people finding you out, you need to control the narrative about that. You need to figure out how to turn that into an empowering story. And oh, by the way, from me doing that very thing that you talked about, it again attracted more people to me. I became more relatable. I became more vulnerable and transparent. And my career took off from there. Right. Thank you for bringing that up. It's such a powerful
Yeah.
concept that we don't talk about enough, and it's not often as well articulated as you just did. What else is coming up for you around that topic? As I'm talking about my journey and taking you back 13 years ago into what kind of how I started
Yeah.
in preventing some of these what felt like a big old mess in my life.
Mhm. Yeah. So something that was really, really scary for me was a former job that I used to have. And I'm just going to put it out there. I was a stripper for 13 years. And when I came online to be a professional coach, that was a huge hang up of mine, huge hang up, thinking that, oh, once people find this out about me, they're going to think I'm stupid, like I'm nothing but a stripper. What can they possibly learn from someone like me? But the moment that I put that out there, I was actually challenged by my life coach I was working with at the time. And she was like, I dare you to go on Facebook Live and just share this with the world and just release the charge. I'm like, all right. So I was like really paranoid about it because none of my friends knew, my family didn't know. And like, I knew my mom watched my Facebook Lives and I was just so scared. I was so
13
scared.
years and your mom never knew?
No, I hid it so well. And I mean, like, just to give you an idea of like how well I hid it, I had partners that didn't even know because I would keep a gym bag in my trunk. And because I at the time I danced at a daytime club. I worked both, but at the time it was a daytime club. So I would pack my gym bag like with all of my clear heels and stuff. And then I would dress in office attire and I would go to the office. And then I would get ready there, do my hair and makeup, and then by the time it was like, it was time to leave the club, I would change back into my office clothes, and then I would walk home with my gym bag, which was full of my gym stuff. And yeah, it just no one knew.
Oh my
No one
God.
knew.
This is
Um
a lot. So tell God, this is great.
but that I spent so much energy hiding, so much energy. And the moment I released that out to the world, I had a woman reach out to me. She was like, you know what, I was also a stripper and I also did some escort work. Like, I could not relate to your story more. How much is it to work with you? And she signed like on the dot. So
Mm,
because I shared my story, somebody else out there who went through the same thing hired me as her coach because she knew nobody else out there would understand her story like I can because I've been through it. And
yeah.
that is the importance of sharing your story, because there's so much that we are ashamed of, so much that we hide, and we just don't know because it's not the norm for everyone to talk about.
Man, Prosper with Connie said, wow, I thought hiding the fact I did DoorDash was bad. LOL. Connie, you are amazing. You've been on here. You've been on here just lighten it up, lighten the comments up this week. Nutrition Dave says, wow, so powerful. Eva, love your story. Side hustle rod, wow, badass, super cool. Shannon says some real talk happening today. I love it. We all have skeletons. That's what makes us human. What awesome. And this is great. See, I like to share this after you and I both shared vulnerable stuff and then get some love from people.
Yeah.
here who are relating and who are validating us for, sharing and putting ourselves out there. Eva says, love your story. You are amazing. Veronica, very
Mm.
powerful. Kenzie says, love being part of this community. Thank you so much. Deco, you are incredible. Mark, don't be ashamed of your past. Embrace it, learn from it, share it. People need to relate to it to save them from their
Mhm.
demons. We're all beacons of light. Mario, very inspiring. Shauna, great story. This is what life is about. See, this is called validation. These are real affirmations you all are giving us right now. Tanya says, love how you flip the script. LJ, kudos to you. Awesome real talk, says Yvonne. Lisa says, powerful story. Love it. Honesty is the best policy. Abby, two beautiful souls, keeping it real. Thank you. Thank you for your vulnerability. Angelica says, takes a lot to bring that up. Yeah, so this is great. This is a great example of of finding your tribe and learning how to get real affirmations and validation from people that are that are going to celebrate you instead of just tolerate you. So
Yeah.
often in life we give our precious little, and to me what you just shared was such a precious little nugget, such a precious little part of yourself. And that it's almost like handing somebody a piece of yourself. It's when you're sharing those kind of things, it's like handing somebody a piece of yourself. So it's really helpful to be conscious and careful of who you share those things with. And oftentimes, strangers can be much better and safer to share things with than people who are your friends and family, or at least who you think
Mhm.
are, because they hold so much emotional weight in your life that if they react to you in a negative way, it can really be traumatic, right? And so a lot of
Yeah.
times that's why it's healthier to go and process things with a therapist or a coach or even a community like this, or even a brand new audience. Because if you were to take something that is like your mess and just go and hand it to like your mom or your
Yeah.
dad, or, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you a lot of times there, or your aunt who's like, you love
Mhm.
her, but she's like really negative and pessimistic and super shaming, right? A lot of times when you hand somebody something that's so precious, even though they're close, even though they're blood, they can do a lot of damage with their reaction. And so it's so helpful for us now that we are adults, and all of us are, or should be, I think, seems to be everybody's an adult, and that's who this show and company is for, is adults, not children. Um, as adults, we need to learn to take ourselves and to create powerful spaces, our own individual spaces, even new spaces for us to process, for us to begin to build our lives or begin to build our new lives. And I love that you decided. Of course, your coach challenged you to share that on Facebook, but I love that you brought that here today. And I love that all of our community here listening is giving you and I back so much affirmation and validation,
Mhm.
because that is a great example of what happens when you do deliver value to an audience. And in return, they actually become not only customers and clients. And it is true that it's much faster for a client to become a friend than a friend to become a client. Let me say that again. It's much easier for a client to become a friend than a friend to become a client. I don't know why. I can't explain that. But imagine the power in that each one of us has this ability to deliver, to kind of create our own little family. Now, maybe some of you had a family and it just didn't work out, or maybe you were born into a family that you're like, ugh, wasn't exactly what I call a loving home. Well, we don't always have a choice to pick what family we were born into, but we do have a choice to pick the audience and community and family that we choose to live in as adults. And the
Mhm.
cool thing is that a lot of us as adults, sometimes we sort of snap out of it and are like, how did I get all these shitty friends? You know what I mean? Like, what, you know what I mean? Like, how many of you, and you don't have to, I mean, hey, be honest in the comments if you want, but I mean, I have sometimes woke up in my life and gone like, I need to recycle some of these people. Like, I need to clean this out. This is like I'm a hoarder with friends. Like, I need to clear and clean out the people in our lives and realize who's actually here with me and who is just like secretly praying for my demise. They're not celebrating me, they're just tolerating me.
Mhm.
My point here is did each one of you know that you're actually in control of creating a new family, a new audience, a new community? I know a lot of you are like, I love this community here at Legendary. But do you realize that this community at one time was just me? Isn't that some shit? I wasn't handed this. This wasn't a pre-made community that was like here when I got here. I didn't buy it from somebody else. Everything great that you see, every group, every community that you see out there was created and started by, and some of them are communities of just a couple people or a few dozen, some are a few hundred, some are a few thousand, some are a few 100,000. But it's an empowering concept to realize that we have the power to go and create our own community and family, and that we can find people that we can share things with like we've shared today, and they can respond with compassion, empathy, and even from wanting to support us financially by buying the things that we sell and recommend. And we can build a
Mhm.
life and an income and create an income from the impact that we make. I looked up at the clock and realized it's 11:14. We're just flowing, you and I.
I love it.
Oh, let's end with this. What have you learned about yourself through this process that you did not know or are reminded of about Shay?
Mm. That I trust myself. I truly trust myself.
Mm.
Because when I discovered this, my heart was screaming yes. And it was all the self doubt that was telling me no, but I followed it. I trust myself. I've trusted myself this whole journey throughout life, and every decision has led me to where I am today. And it's all because I've always listened to myself, not to other people, just me.
Wow. That's wonderful. That's powerful. That's beautiful. Shay, come back and see me. I want to continue to follow your journey and keep our community updated and abreast of how you're doing and how things are going. And I can't wait to
Yeah.
see where you're going to be in 3 months and then 6 months and 9 months and 12 months from here as you continue to listen to yourself and follow your heart and follow your wonderful, powerful intuition that you have that has led you to the place that you are right now, building, creating, evolving like a butterfly. Also,
Mm,
going inside and then being reborn, not in religious ways particularly, just in new mental, emotional, and spiritual ways that are manifesting in these physical ways, which you're getting to come back and share that with us, and it's real powerful. And so, have a wonderful sleep tonight. I know it's
mm.
10:15 over there in
All
Thailand,
good.
right? Which is where you're
Yeah.
at right now.
Hmm.
And stay legendary, my friend. Okay, we'll stay in touch and
Yeah.
be well, be great. Okay, thanks for your time today.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. This was an honor.
All right, you're welcome, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
All right, my friends, you can go and follow Shaylnn at Shaylnn Lavelle, and I'm going to spell that out in case you are listening. And she's on Instagram, so I'm sending you to her Instagram profile. You can then follow her other profiles and figure out where else she is from there. It's SHAYLNN dot LAVELLE, Shaylnn Lavelle, and you can support her. I encourage you to do so. You can learn from her. You can support her as she supports you. This conversation this morning was just a tip of the iceberg of what I'm sure she can deliver as a person in your sphere of influence, in your new circle, in your new family, in your new community. You be a part of her community. She can be a part of yours as you are a part of ours. Again, you can find Shay on Instagram at Shaylnn Lavelle. And there's a dot between Shaylnn and Lavelle. That's spelled SHAYLNN dot LAVELLE. If you would like to get a text message reminder, my dear friends, every time we go live in the morning at 10 a.m. Eastern time, and this is live, every day it's live, text the words WUL to 813-296-8553. WUL to 813-296-8553. I'll leave that up on the screen. So those of you who would like to get that text message reminder, just a gentle little nudge in the morning, no spam, no selling of information, none of that BS, just a gentle little nudge every morning at 10 a.m. Eastern time, reminding you that we're going live. I'll meet you back here tomorrow with another cup of coffee, with another, as my daughter calls it, spicy water, and another amazing guest. Get out of here. Have a great day. Be legendary. Peace.